Yeah.
Yeah,
I
those.
I've got the Inner Temple of Witchcraft. Yeah, it's just a good book,
Right.
and I like it, and a lot of good information in there, and you just really do gotta. I mean, there's a lot of information in that little bitty book.
You want to keep with a book though that's gonna, serve your purposes
Mm-hmm.
too.
Absolutely.
You're gonna you want to resonate with it. You want to have a vibration with it, and you always want to have it handy because you always want to go back to it and say, you know what, let me go, figure this thing out. Give me a second, I'll be back. Or here, let me pull out my book and
Mm-hmm.
we'll look at this together. So it's always great to have those references always handy. So I can imagine that, Cunningham's book for you, and the temple. What was it called? Witch's Temple. Inner
Temple
Temple.
of
Right.
Witchcraft. Yeah.
So for me, it's just Odin stories and sagas. So, but there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Heathen. um. So yeah. Poor YouTube. I'm sorry, guys. I am apparently experiencing North Idaho internet. So there may not be any video this evening. It may all be audio, and if that's the case, I'll load video later. So yeah,
Yeah, we could probably do that because it should record to the computer. So
yeah,
we'll have to post it later.
Yeah.
So if you're not hearing it, if YouTube's being a pain in the butt, go to tfrlive.com.
Mhm.
Look for Paisley's show, the spaces between, and get into the chat room and get there. That's where you need to go.
Yep, do it because I said so. Anyways, so what is something you wish you had known when you started the journey, the spiritual journey that you're on right now? Because I know it's evolved a bit over the years. Just a bit.
Uh, just a bit. I, you ask that, and there's like 50 things that floated into my head. So the first one, being able to say no
Mm-hmm.
without giving an explanation. You've used all of your spoons for the day, and someone asks you to do something that you don't want to do. Say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can thank them if you want, but take care of yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Say no. It's not a bad thing. And once you start honoring yourself more and what your sole purpose is, and in that moment, if it's not taking on that extra task or doing that event,
Mm-hmm.
your body's going to thank you for it. Your soul is going to acknowledge that you have acknowledged it, and things are going to continue to compound and expound from that
Mm-hmm.
point. Oh, yeah, that one, and that my journey is my own. That I will learn from many other people, as you all will, but in totality, it's my own journey. And so the different spices and flavors that I incorporate into mine are what work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And while those are going to vary if I'm working with a client, of course,
Yes.
because that's what the client needs, that's different. But for me, the things that I get to do for myself are my flavor, and they're what my soul is looking for. And a lot of different people in this spiritual world that may or may not consider themselves to be a guru or a master don't necessarily share that your flavor is going to be your own, and that is to be celebrated
Mm-hmm.
without question.
Absolutely. I consider myself an eclectic witch or an eclectic pagan because I pull a little bit from multiple different paths because that feels appropriate to me. Now, the Reconstructionists feel that that's not accurate, that you need to be really focused, and that's not okay. And it's frustrating because, the world isn't what it was um, a while ago. And a couple decades ago or a millennia ago, when the path or when paganism was real and more common, and everybody were pagans. But the transition to Christianity and back, we don't really know what a lot of that was back in the day, because there's not a lot of written record of it, and a lot of the written records we do have are influenced by Christianity or written by Christian monks, and so it's paganism through the Christian lens. Granted, they're early Christians, so they weren't maybe as, I won't say they weren't as judgmental, but they weren't like they are today. But so the filters were different, and it's I don't know, it's a real thing that we are still, even the reconstructionists are still kind of making it up as they're going along, and it's frustrating because I can't say with beyond a shadow of a doubt that yes, this path is the only one to follow. I really feel more that it's up to the individual to really feel what it is that is best for them, and everybody's path is different, and what feels right for me is going to be different from you, and is going to be different from Don, which is why the coven that I've got locally that we've been talking about and trying to get going is not really a coven, it's a circle, because circles are all encompassing, and we're trying to look to include a variety, and for everybody to feel comfortable in their uniqueness, and I think that's more appropriate.
I think everybody, though, forgets that everybody has different views, and a lot of people just need to search for what side, or what, not side, but what flavor, fits. It's a matter of taste. If it just doesn't taste right to you, then you need to find something else or continue that journey. It's just really interesting how some people just simply say that this is the way it is, and this is the only way it can be. And we've talked about this several times, about finding your own path and trying to figure out who you are in this bigger cosm that we live in. And we need to remember, and every religion, tradition, whatever that is, needs to remember that not everything fits everybody's profiles, their own personal profiles. So, that search is always ongoing.
Yeah, very much so. And it's always developing.
So much.
I will bump into someone in the course of my daily life, and they'll say one thing out of the entire conversation we might have for whatever length of time. It just really clicks and resonates, and it's like, oh, this is what I really needed to hear. And I'm not the only one that happens to. I'm not that weird.
No, it really does happen to everybody.
Yeah.
But a lot of folks haven't tuned into that yet.
Yes.
To where they recognize that out of that great conversation and that great connection that you've had with that person, that there's this one key piece of information that is really going to...
Break time.
Yes, I know. In a minute.
Really going to be the key into a previous thought that you may have had, or maybe something that you were working on that you just, as we do, we're working on something, we don't quite have it figured out, and we're like, okay, I'm going to let it go, and we'll get back to that later. And that's great. Let it go.
Yeah, okay, Elsa. You channel your inner Elsa and just let it go.
Exactly.
Because and it's real. It is real. Sometimes you just have to set down that burden and take a break. Go do something else. Read a book. Go for a walk. Take a nap.
That sounds
Naps
good.
are amazing.
Naps are
love to have
totally
one. Do
wasted
it.
on
Nap.
children.
Nap.
Naps.
Do it.
Yeah. Have some coffee. Whatever it is you got to do. Both nap and then coffee.
Coffee the nap.
Good. Break time. We'll be right back. Yeah, there we go.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, it's just been one of those things. You know, the funny thing is, I was looking right at it. So yeah, there we go.
So
yeah.
so you talked about the signs, giving away your troubles or your difficulties, and sitting at the ocean is a good way to do that because it'll just take them right away. You just give it to the water. So and that's like doing like Paisley says, shadow work.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of doing the shadow work
Absolutely.
to getting releasing your all of this stuff to be able to receive the new stuff. And I'd say a raven walking around me in a circle would be quite the thing, because they are not quiet. they are not quiet.
Yeah.
So
That's definitely a message.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So from that message, is that when you really started looking at a YouTube show, or was that kind of like a catalyst?
Yeah.
Let's see, that was definitely before. So I think that was really a confirmation that
It was
I
time.
was on the right path.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
And
Yeah.
there's so many resources out there that say when you're doing spell work or when you're doing intention work that you create your sacred space, and in most witch circles that is your circle,
Yes.
whether it's an energetic circle or a salt circle or a fill in the blank circle, whatever you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case it really felt like that circle was being created for me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a small circle either. It was a very large circle, but nonetheless, it was clearly a circle, and it really pointed out that as long as we have the intention to create that sacred space, to do our work, to share our work with those who need to receive it, who will benefit from it, it is there,
Mm-hmm. It really is.
limitless.
Yeah. And a sacred space, a lot of people assume a sacred space is going to be your altar in your home or wherever it is. And we really forget that, we carry that sacred space within us. It's not just a static spot at home or if, depending where you're at, your church or anything like that. It is within us. And we can recreate that sacred space pretty much anywhere we go if we need to. So, yep, totally get having an altar. I generally have one up, just not right now. And but when I do something out, like if I do a circle out in the yard or something, with other people, that's the sacred space. It's not just at the altar. It's just like
Right.
you're not always just eating dinner at the kitchen table. Sometimes you go somewhere else to eat dinner. Same kind of thing. It really is.
Totally. Or that sunset is amazing.
Yeah.
And you take your bowl of whatever that you whipped up, so that you can go out and enjoy that sunset, and you carry it outside and you just stand there and you're doing your
Soaking
eating
it up.
and shadow work and all of this nourishment happening all at the same time, and it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Or the full moon.
yep.
Yep.
Not the last full moon, the one before that, it was a full moon. I couldn't see it because it was raining, but it was this gorgeous, warm, heavy Oregon rain, so I went and stood outside in the full moon rain, and it was amazing. And I hadn't planned it,
Mm-hmm.
but I was just in this space where I could listen, and the message was,
Cleanse.
go cleanse.
Yeah.
And
And
I
that
said,
one's a
"Huh?"
good one. Yeah.
And I was like, it's raining. Go outside. Oh. Okay, going. Great, thanks.
Right? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of rain.
No.
Rain
No.
is cleansing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So cleansing.
Yes.
It's great to put your crystals out in the rain if you want to.
The ones that are not water soluble.
She beat me to it.
Ah!
That
So
was my
no
next
salt, huh?
thought, right?
Yeah.
No salt rocks.
So maybe not the salt rocks. You're not going to do that with your selenite. Selenite will dissolve in water. And there's a couple other ones that I don't know off the top of my head, but that information is readily available. So
Yeah, cascarilla is another one that you don't want to just put out in the rain.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's a more of a Santeria thing.
Oh, sure.
But it's one of those things that'll turn into mud. So yes,
Right?
sacred mud.
Right, yeah.
Sacred mud.
Sacred mud.
As opposed to ashes on Ash Wednesday, you got sacred mud for Sunday or even Saturday.
Yep. Right? Used such things in energy work, but it's, intentional and probably not what would be the end product of leaving it out in the rain.
Right. Unless you're out there playing in the mud, that's something else entirely.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different thing entirely. So, let's see. We talked about the YouTube show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I have not had enough coffee today.
And I have.
I'm looking. Well, I don't know you. Yeah, I don't know. You had more opportunity. I don't even have a coffee pot at work.
Anyhow, back to the show.
Sad day. Hey, coffee's important.
It
It's
is.
self-care.
It's a sacred. It's a sacred bean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, put your intentions in your coffee cup when you're mixing.
You've
in
talked
your,
about that before, yeah. When you mix in your sugar and your
creamer or whatever it is you got to put in your coffee
Maple
to get your
syrup
day.
is my...
Maple syrup.
Yep, I don't eat sugar. Granted, I have a Powerade in my hand, but
That's my fault.
most of the time I try to not
Yeah.
eat a ton of processed sugar. And so in my coffee, it's maple syrup.
So that brings up actually a great question about treating your temple, how you treat your temple.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So there's a few different ways to do that. I, as most people have tried so many different diets. And, buy this shake and mix this up this many times and take this pill and do this in this way and exercise this many times. And by the end of it, you have lost the weight. You do feel better. You do have higher energy. But then you stop for whatever reason, and all of that goes back to the way it was before faster than it went away.
Yes.
And one thing that I love doing is when I'm shopping, I will use my body as a pendulum. And so this is fast. Let's teach you how to do it. So stand up and center yourself. Make sure you're not going to be interrupted. You can go back and listen to this later.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you can do this if now is not a great time. So you're going to stand up and you're going to center yourself and you're going to, make your knees not locked and just ask, give me a no. And whichever way your body moves, left, right, forward, backward, maybe in a funny direction that you don't necessarily recognize, great. Remember that's your no. And then center yourself again and ask for a yes. And whichever way you move, that's your yes. And so you can use this tool. It's all about adding tools to our toolbox.
Absolutely.
So that we can treat ourselves better.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I go to the store, if there's something that I want, and there might be a few varieties, if it's not obvious which one to pick, I'll say that one. Nope, that one. Nope, that one. Yes. Okay, great. That one goes in the cart. And for a long time, I couldn't do it when I was in the grocery store because of how self-conscious I was of it. But it's not a super dramatic movement that you're going to feel. It's more of a nudge. And it's fast and quick. And if you start doing this with more of the decisions that you're making for yourself, then you're going to see so much of a difference. This most recent move to the Oregon coast, the amount of times that I asked, are we sure we're moving to the coast? Are we really sure we're going to be moving to the coast? Am I crazy? Is this really a thing? What? I got so much confirmation. And sometimes with different tools that we use, such as cards or other physical divination tools, we often hear, and I semi-subscribe to this, that you don't want to ask the same question every day or multiple times a day, because sometimes your deck will mock you.
Yes, it will mock you.
And it will be frustrating. And so there's other tools that you can use. I don't use the physical divination tools every day. I don't use them too often unless I unless I feel drawn to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't know, my own flavor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Intention. That's
Yeah.
what you're doing. You're setting your intention prior to shopping. So yeah.
Yeah.
And garbage in, garbage out when it comes to our diet. Really, truly, if you eat a bunch of junk food, the result is you're gonna look pretty kind of junky after a while. And for you young folks, your metabolism will catch up to you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Trust
boy.
me.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's vexing. Very, very vexing. And your metabolism will mock you as you get into your middle years.
Yeah.
A lot. And like, yeah, I know you wanted that piece of pizza, but guess where it's going to go? In your gut and your hips. And yes. So, anyways.
And it's going to gurgle. And
Yes.
there's going to do other things that are not appropriate to talk about on this show. But
Right?
you've all had them happen. So, yeah. Eat the good things.
So when we're talking about these things, do you find that before you do a working of whatever type, do you find that you sometimes are best served to say fast for a while, or how are some of the ways you set your stage with your intention to complete your working?
I hadn't thought about that necessarily directly like that.
Right.
But yes, because there are certain things that I'll do before I've eaten. And now that you've mentioned that, they're all playing through, things
Mhm.
that different intentions that I've set and what state I was in when I was doing them, whether I was in a meditative state, whether it was casual, whether I had eaten, whether I hadn't eaten, coffee, no coffee, so on and so forth. And it all has an effect.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And just listen to your soul, that soul space that we have is
It's
there.
real, yeah, and that's why meditation is so good for us, because the more you meditate, and you focus on self and listening to self, you'll hear those messages more clearly, and more often without having to stop and meditate every time, because those messages will come through clearer. Just like working with your spirit guides, for instance. Once you start stopping and paying attention to what they have to say, they're going to say, okay, she's listening now, or he's listening now. We're going to talk again, because now that you're paying attention, because we got tired of face palming when we told you not to do that, because that's real. We've all experienced it. Once you stop to listen, the message is much clearer. And getting that habit, or that practice of listening, because we forget to stop and listen to our own selves.
I think that's important to talk about, though, is talk about how to stop and listen, and how to tell your brain to stop chattering, because that's one of my problems, is I can't stop thinking. I'll think about anything at any time. A sandwich at midnight sounds good too, but that's beside the point. But learning to shut all that extra information being received down so you can hear. We talked to Deb Varner a lot. She's our psychic friend, and she always sets things before she comes on the show, or before she does a working of of whatever that may be. And you know, she works with her guides, she works with her spirit guides, and her spirit guides commune with your spirit guides, and they have a conversation, and then it's sent to her through vision. So clair, what is that? Clairaudience, clair, is it clairvoyance? Yeah, with the C. Yeah, clairvoyance is seeing, clairaudience is hearing, etc., etc. So, so I guess what I'm saying is, you know, how do you quiet your mind, other than, I mean, because you can't always just stop and do a great meditation, you know, if you're out and about and you're like say you have a panic attack, you know, and it's like you've got to stop because you're trying to figure something out, and it's like, okay, stop, you know, and you know, because I've had this happen just the last couple weeks. You know, how do you do those quick clearings to connect again?
I didn't know how to do them for a long time, and the panic attack in a setting where you're not equipped to deal with it, they happen, and I'm going to bet that they happen more often than you allow yourself to acknowledge.
Probably yes.
Because they did for me, absolutely. I, in different places in my body, depending on where that feeling is, like the anxiousness in my shoulders, that's
Mhm.
all anxiety, period. That is nothing more than anxiety for me. It's going to be different for you. It could be similar, but your places where you feel things are going to be yours. It's your flavor. And so my shoulders, when they do that tensy thing, it really, I know that it's that, and I acknowledge it, and I laugh, and I say, okay, what is this about? And then it might be an epitaph worth of things that I'm stressing myself out about for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might just be a couple things or one thing in this moment. And I can say thank you. And then I immediately choose to correct that thought to something either positive or neutral that involves co creation.
Mm-hmm.
So I stressed about money. We all stress about money at one point in time or another every hour. So it really being able
Well,
to
I'm going to pause you right there. You have to remember it for 3 minutes
okay.
Break time.
because we're about to go to break, and I figure before you get into your next step. All right. It's amazing how fast time flies. I told you 2 hours, and it doesn't take very long. So, all right, guys, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back with Sam Michael, and we're talking about reconnecting and resetting when you don't have time. So, we'll be right back.
I, oh Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between. And just a reminder, as we hit the top of the hour here, we're being broadcast live on iHeartRadio, Truth Frequency Radio, Tune In, and TalkStream Live. That's all out of order, but hey, you know. And on YouTube World, kind of, I think. I think it's working. So, and tonight I'm joined by my friend Sam Michael. Say hello, Sam.
Hello.
And Don Longbeard is in the peanut gallery today rather than in front of the camera.
Relegated to the corner.
Technically, there's 3 corners here. We're a triangle.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. We're isosceles.
Keep going.
Oh.
Anyhow, we were
my
talking to
sense of
Sam
humor.
about
Yeah.
doing quick cleansings to reacquire that connection to whatever you call that, your spirit guides or your divine, whatever that is. And you were talking about out and about, acknowledging the problem, and then realizing that you need to change something you're doing immediately. And so if you remember that line, please keep going.
Right. So we'll dance around it a little bit until it clicks back into that thought. So we often have things that may trouble us throughout the day or throughout the hour, and it could be recurring thoughts. And depending on what it is, whether or not it's something that you really need to consider that often, most likely it's a lot of spin up and anxiousness that you're feeling, that, and for me that is in my shoulders. So I can acknowledge that and ask really what my body is trying to tell me. And so it shows up that often it is, let's see, it's something that I can acknowledge what it is, ask what the bottom line is for it, or what the true message is, not just the chatter that I'm getting about it. And then I can change that thought form into positive or at least neutral, and thank my body for giving me that information. And then in the intention of changing it into positive or neutral, be able to get back into a centered space and move on with my day. And that, at first, depending on how persistent it is as it comes up, you may need to do it more often. But that will start to dissipate the more you start listening and changing those thoughts that just take over everything into something positive or neutral.
Exactly. And if you are trying to figure out the how to do this, perhaps some guided meditation to begin with. Hypnotherapy is good. Or just finding a trigger, something that you can use. There's fidget rings that you can use that spin, or a bracelet, or something touch that'll give you that's just something, a stone. I've got my raven.
I'm poking and prodding. I usually wear a mala that I made, a beaded mala, and I don't have it on, but that, I use that in a pinch if I really need to center about something. There's 108 beads on that, so that intention 108 times will clear out a lot of stuff.
Absolutely will. You bet your buttons. Or your beads. You bet your beads. Yes. And having that touchstone, because touchstone is a real thing, whether a worry stone in your pocket or a special coin, whatever it is, because it gives you that physical contact.
It's not there either.
That helps you, find your focus. And I think, like, I've got a stone in my hand right now. It's not because I need a fidget, it's just, or a touchstone. It's just I need a fidget because the ADD is real. So, you okay over there?
Fine. So another thing that I get is these hiccupy things, and it's like sits right down at the bottom of my breastbone. And for me, it's when I know that I'm doing something that is super divinely on my path, like this, but my anxiety trips up a little bit, and so I get these little hiccup things. So I place my hands there, and this can be something that you can try if you want to. Place my hands there and close my eyes, center, and visualize that I'm connected with the earth and connected with the ether. And I am loved, I am safe, I am always taken care of, I am divinely guided and inspired, or whatever mantra or words you may want to say. But it goes away pretty quick, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And that's that physical sensation that you get. We all get something like that when we're on a path that we know we need to be on. Our spirit tells us we need to be there. Our heart tells us we need to be there, but our brain is saying, WTF, man, it's scary. What are you doing? This isn't normal. What are you doing? Ah, who's holding our hand? And then it's where you just, that deep cleansing breath, the ground out,
The grounding out.
and refocus. Because sometimes you just got to do it.
We talk about, energy a lot. And, you were speaking about, you're over on the Pacific Ocean. I'm jealous of that particular part because I miss it. But, we talk about salt water, and salt water is the conductor. So, you talk about dissipating. So I could see you being out on the beach there, and pushing that negativity out or whatever that is, but you just mentioned, being connected to the ground or grounded again. You imagine yourself grounding, and basically talks about, the roots of a tree and the tree in the back here, the oak tree, yeah. And how she uses that, because that, the roots go down, the leaves and the limbs go up, and being able to use that as a focal point per se, even if not, present, physically present, you can use that as your touchstone when you're out and about,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you were just saying. Kind of what you were just saying is, you're still connected, to the ether and the ground and the mother and things like that. So it's really interesting, that, a lot of these echo, and we were talking about different tastes and different flavors of our tradition or our path, and yet, we talk the same, we say the same things a lot of the time. And so, there is the commonality of, being connected and grounded and being connected with the aether and the divine, whatever that may be, and it's just really good to remember that, even though you have to remember that everybody has their own path or their own way, we all still have a common base,
Mm-hmm.
and we still have things that we have built on from other traditions, or the revivalist whatever you want to call that, the LARPers, anyhow. But so we have our differences, but we have our commonalities
Mm-hmm.
too. So that's important to remember.
Yeah, very much so. And I call it the pagan path because it's paganism.
Mm-hmm.
It's eh, are we all the same particular part of the path? No, but it's a path, and I just, in my visualization, as all these different paths are braided together to form a cable, if you will, and then we're all on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's just who we are. It's the whole path. It's the path. To me, it's capitalized. It's the path.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
because, like, I follow Hecate, and I feel called by Caninos. Two kind of different but similar, well, depending on what tradition you're following. Those two do show up in quite a few different traditions in different forms. But, that's me. Don is a heathen. And that's okay. He can be a heathen over there. but he had a pretty spectacular dream about Odin, and that's kind of a big deal. So,
Dreams are amazing.
yes, I talk about have a journal. Dream journals are important.
Well, it's especially amazing when you wake up and you've been moved so drastically that you're sobbing and you're like, where was I? And we talk about where was my connection at that moment, and when you're asleep and you're dreaming, you remove that id, you
The
remove
ego.
that, yeah, the ego, exactly. You touch the id, and it frees your brain up. You don't have to connect. You're already connected. You just have to be paying attention. And it's one thing to dream, but it's another thing to feel it, feel everything about it. And it was really, really weird, really kind of enlightening. It was sad in a lot of ways, but it was still good, you know. But yeah, dreaming is one way to quest.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
Absolutely. Dreams, we go many different places, and it's our subconscious that can be showing us creative ways to deal with things that we're dealing with in our lives that we may not have been able to grasp at a solution for yet.
Yeah. Yes. Very much so. Because often we're so stressed about the details and the minutiae that we can't see the solution and when something comes up. So last night I talked about the psychotropics a bit. Have you, as an apothecist? Apothecarian?
a
Apotheca.
sorcerer.
I looked this up one time because I was curious, because own an apothecary. So what is the title of the person that does that? There's many different things out there. So I don't know. The maker of magical awesomeness
There you go.
resides in the apothecary.
Maker of magical awesomeness. I like it. So, with being involved in the apothecary, is there what impact do you think that psychotropics have on being an apothecary?
That
It's a loaded question.
it is, because there's everything that we give our body has some sort of impact. So whether that looks like using a lot of something that may not be directly intended to super calm us down, that is something. That one in particular is Kava. Yes, you can create a potion, if you will, out of Kava that, yes, it will relax you, and yes, it can be somewhat psychotropic. However, it also comes with kidney and liver damage. So it's important to know and work with someone experienced when you're
Right.
wanting to venture off onto those journeys.
Mhm.
And for a lot of people, they do find those valuable. Maybe not so much the Kava one, but
The
a really-
psilocybin.
really popular ones today are psilocybin or ayahuasca,
DMT.
DMT. And no, you don't have to buy them from so-and-so and use them under their direct supervision. But being that they're as powerful as they are, I would definitely recommend using them with someone who knows what they're doing,
Mhm.
if that's something you choose to do.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest takeaways from the show last night is, if that's what you feel called to do, that's something you need to do, make sure your intention is correct. You're not just going out to have a good time, but your intention is the journey and the learning of it. and have someone who's going to be your babysitter, your guide, or your touchstone to make sure that you're safe and that you're really doing what you need to do correctly.
Well, that's like last night. I mentioned the first few times I did LSD, it was recreational, but then like I said last night, it was like I realized it wasn't really recreational. I was supposed to be doing something more, and that was back when I was 25. God, that was half my life ago already. Um, that was back when I was 25, and I realized really quickly that it wasn't just me, having a good time and being high. It was me figuring out how to do the journey, and I didn't do a whole lot. Um, I wasn't using it for a long time because that journey ended. It's nice every now and then, just to remember and get reset, but and then I told the story about being in San Francisco with my brother high on mushrooms, and that was actually a journey because we were actually going from Seattle down to the tip of Baja, Mexico, and that was a journey, and it was kind of a spiritual thing for me, and so the point is the first few times I did LSD, I had other people with me, but I was there for my brother when he was doing. We were eating the kibenzis and doing that thing, and it's amazing how easy it was to take him from a potential episode, a bad episode, to being back on a path because I had already been there. And it was just kind of weird because it's my older brother. My older brother's like, oh, well, this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, that's not the way it works. Well, what do you know? You're the younger brother. Well, because I've done it. I've been there. I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. And it'll be different, but this is basically what's going to happen. So you need a guide the first few times. But after that, it was like I understood, my safe space and where I should and should not be, doing these kinds of things. Because I also told the story of being in the middle of Kent, Washington, in the middle of Kent Kangley Road, which is like a 5-lane road, and it's just busy as hell, and I was stuck in the middle of it. And, sometimes we need to be reminded that you need to stay in your safe spot. Everything worked out. I just wanted Taco Bell, and then I ended up not eating it. But the psychotropics and subhypnotics and things like that, yarrow and mugwort, even what was it that Nostradamus took? Nutmeg. He took excessive amounts of nutmeg. And then
another one that comes with the kidney liver damage.
Yeah, and that's and be aware of your side effects, and don't overdo it, but make sure that you're going in your intention. I learned that quick. What is my intention? Why do I really want to do this? And what am I looking? What is my end result going to look like, or what do I want it to look like? And just through those things, you can center yourself pretty well. And you can guide yourself through that. So I do think, in my personal opinion, for some people, that kind of a journey is a needful thing. It was needful for me because I had to get away from my ego. My ego was just huge at the time. And that's not to say it's not now. It's just a lot different.
I know where your kids get it from then.
Hey, settle down. Anyhow, but so it's I think for a lot of people, it's the way to divorce yourself from your ego and be able to connect again and learn what grounding is and learn what the connection to the aether is and journey that way. Be safe, like you said, you're the one who knows more about the side effects than I do. I know side effects of things I've done. You were talking about Kava. I don't know anything about Kava. But it's an easy thing to find somebody to journey with, as long as you are on an honest path.
Yes.
So.
Yep, honest path. I like that one. Honest path.
Honest path.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a little bit of definition of that. That is your honest path.
Yes, because not everybody has the same interpretation of
Uh-huh.
honest path.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
give a definition of honest path. What do you think that means to you?
So we see and hear and filter so much information in every moment of every day. There's so many different inputs that we're getting hit with all the time. And we have to filter those and pick out which ones resonate with us and which ones we may want to hold on to a little bit of that information maybe for later, and which stuff to just let go for now. That doesn't mean that it's not going to come up again later, just means that right in this very moment it's not something I need to hold on to. And so my brain is struggling to tie that back into what I was saying. So tying that back into being on your honest path, you get you get to meditate on that and find out what your soul purpose is and really see where that's going to go for you, which can be intimidating.
It
Yes.
is, and it is individual. Your own soul, like your soul, your spirit, and also soul is in your individual, both, because everybody's gonna have a slightly different path, and so my honest path, I shouldn't try to push that onto someone else because it's not going to be their path. I mean, we may walk side by side. It may be a similar path, but it's not necessarily going to be the same. And so not only should I not try to influence their path with mine, but also I need to accept that theirs is going to be different, and then that's okay. And not judge them for it.
We came back
Because-
around to the beginning of the show.
Yeah, it happens.
It does. Keep going.
So, yeah, and remember to not judge someone else based upon our own path too, our own filters, because we see the world through the filters of our own experiences all the time, and that's part of the reason why texting is very 2D. You hear the words being texted to you through the filters of your own experience. So if you're a sarcastic individual, and that's how you type and that's how you read, well, if the message being sent was sarcastic, but the person who received it is very literal, it won't be accepted as sarcastic. It'll be accepted as literal. It'll be like, oh my God. And they'll be responsive as literal. And then the person who's sarcastic will be saying, oh, well, they're sarcastic too. We're going to be BFFs forever. And two different conversations from those same words to they're not speaking the same kind of English. So and we need to remember that those individual filters are real, and they're impacting our own path and and what is honest for ourselves. So, yeah, that's my 3 cents.
Huh. Gee.
I have 3 cents. I have a lot of 3 cents.
You know, I think our honest path is revealed to us when we set our intention, because if you're being honest with yourself, your intention will set itself honestly. The problem is once again removing those filters and being able to recognize when we're being honest with ourselves. You know, is this really what I want? You mentioned that earlier, Sam. Is this really what I want? Or am I taking a left when I should be taking that right? You know.
Am I weaving or am I wobbling?
Right. You know, it's
Definitely been a lot of that.
you know, but I think when we do set our intention, set our stage, you know, do your meditation or you do your work, you know, and this is and actually psychotropics to me has a lot to do with dark what do you
Shadow
call it?
work?
Shadow work, because if you can't be dishonest with yourself when you're in that kind of a state. because all that, as I've said, ego has been stripped away. It's like now you're looking at your soul and you're like, oh, I'm an ass. I've done some really stupid things and hurt some people or hurt myself through my own machinations. So I think, as I said before, so for some people they need it, and like I said, I think your intention will be set honestly, and if it isn't, you're gonna get a correction really quick, in about 20 to 40 minutes.
Doesn't take long.
Nope. Nope, not at all.
I love listening to sleep meditation. I use Spotify
Mm-hmm.
because it has a sleep timer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not playing all night, because I've noticed if I let things play all night, it will wake me up
Right.
Mm-hmm.
throughout the night. So I have a sleep timer. I pick a few things, whether it's if I'm needing refilled, then it might be some meditation, maybe energy healing type music that you set your intention that the energy flows to heal me wherever I need it. The music plays for however long, shuts off, you're asleep by the time it stops, and you wake up
Yep.
feeling pretty awesome in the morning.
All right, speaking of stop, it's break time. Last
Yeah.
break.
Last break.
We are just screaming through, so we'll be right back, y'all.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between because, yeah, we can. We've got Sam Michael here and Dong Longbeard in the peanut gallery because,
Because the corner sucks.
well, no, just it's the peanut gallery. We'll just leave it there.
Well, no, we have a guest in studio, which is really awesome.
Yes, it is, and because I have a day job, I didn't get the camera set up for another angle.
That's fine. No big deal.
Yeah. So, and yeah, just 'cause, yeah. So, we're just talking about stuff, all sorts of stuff. Everything from psychotropics to spirit work to apothecary, cleansing, grounding, yeah.
Self-care.
Self-care. Self-care is important.
So important.
We need to do more of that. Take care of yourself. Happy birthday, Marilena.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, make sure you stop and take care of yourself today. And sometimes self-care means buying your own flowers because you deserve them.
I was going to say chocolate bar. Like that
Chocolate?
Great chocolate bar.
Yes. The quality chocolate. Treat yourself to the quality chocolate.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if that means tonight that you are eating that whole thing with a glass of whatever drink you want to drink, then that's what you do.
In my house, it'd be in the closet because otherwise Mini-Me wants some too.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I want a treat and I don't want to share, I really have to either eat it before she sees it, or I have to hide when I'm eating it. And even then, Mom, what are you doing? Mom, what are you doing? Mom.
Yep.
Do you have a TSB Discord?
You know,
Because I know you set up a Discord when you talked
I
to...
do, but I haven't logged into it for a little bit, so I don't know what the links or the logins are.
Well, it's just Lewis mentioned it, and I remember that there is one.
Yeah, I did set up a TSB Discord, but I don't know what I did with it and where it's at. So I'll have to look into that, and I will put something out on the show next weekend and make sure I've got the right stuff.
The right stuff.
Yeah, because I could probably give you something right now, and it's probably going to be wrong. So, Marilena's going to have her favorite fruit. So, yeah, that works.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Splurge.
What did I do the other night? It was either a nectarine or an apricot. But I wanted it dessert-like, so I put honey on it and then ate that, and it was amazing.
It was luscious.
Right?
Yes.
And it was real instead of
The
bag
processed.
of gummy worms, sour gummy worms, which was road trip food last night, and
Oh.
was entertaining.
Road trip food. Bagels and V8s.
Sunflower seeds, coffee, and water. I mean, road trip foods vary.
Right?
Yeah.
What's
I-
going to get you through that trip?
Exactly. I found that coffee doesn't keep me awake for the road trip. It's the sunflower seeds
Yeah,
because I'm doing something.
because you're doing something.
Mhm.
Yep. That physical activity.
Yeah. Because slapping yourself around because you're falling asleep at the wheel is not a good thing.
No. And those mini sleeps where you close your eyes and then you open your eyes back up.
Wake up screaming.
Yep. And hope that you're still on the road are not fun.
Yes, the adrenaline rush is not enough to keep you awake, so you might as well just pull over and take a nap anyways.
Yes, please.
It's
Please
safer.
Do that.
Yes. Drive safe.
Drive safe.
Drive well, drive safe. So, speaking of safe, We're just, I don't know, just randomly talking out. Hardly ever, well,
Plowing
no.
through a lot of different subjects.
Yeah, we are. Well, and that's why I called it a Saturday night chat, because it's appropriate, because we're just chatting about a little bunch of stuff. And, Don and I do this relatively often, just kind of sit here and ramble a bit because that's my nature. I often have a plan that just goes awry, but it's good just to sit and chat every so often about whatever's coming up. So, we mentioned spiritual paths, and the raven, came to visit and walked the circle, which, hello, wake up. So, what is your particular spiritual path, or do you not want to talk about it?
Right? No, that's great. I thought that because I considered myself pagan, that I had to have one or more gods, goddesses, deities, whichever, that I had to worship or that I had to serve. But
We say honor.
thank you. Honor, great. That it felt different for my path. Yes, there are so many different amazing beings, amazing iterations of holiness that we can, or sacredness that we can honor. So, nature is one of those for me. And so, the corvid family, the crows, the magpies, the blue jays, the Stellar's jays, the crows.
You said crows. Ravens.
Ravens.
Yeah.
There we go. Bigger
Mhm.
crows.
The
They're really
big
not
crows.
The same. Crows don't barrel roll. So if you're ever watching a crow and it does a barrel roll, it's a raven.
Good point.
Fun
Good point.
fact that I picked up because, yeah. Anyway, so when I lived in Pullman, I had magpies everywhere, and they talked to me and they showed up, and I loved it. And those aren't present on the coast, but we have blue jays and Stellar's jays. And once I figured out that those were in the corvid family, I laughed for a good 5 minutes solid. Because I'm like, oh, okay, great. And Animal Speak by Ted Andrews is another book to have on your shelf. And there are amazing online resources to find that information too. But I love having that book on my shelf, that I can grab it and look and be like, oh, yes. And I think he even has a deck. I want to say he has a deck.
I think you're right. I think the local esoteric shop even has it. Because I remember seeing something, it's an animal themed one.
It kind of goes with his book, but not identical,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember right. Anyway, tangents, because always.
Squirrel.
So many. So, being aware of... I'm going to stop playing with the cabinet that the camera's sitting on. I apologize if I'm making y'all a little seasick over there. I just noticed that it was bobbing. I'm like, huh, okay. So I'll just keep my foot off of that now. So it's really... Some days I talk to and honor one in particular, or other days it's the universe, other days it's God, other days it's really whatever is in that intention.
Mm-hmm.
And you can consider them all the same thing, you can consider them amazing different things, but they're always going to be there to support you.
So I think that's the difference between religion and spirituality. It's a big one, because you can be spiritual and follow that path without needing to worship or significantly follow a deity, any one deity. And I think that's that thought process that you have to have a deity to honor, um, is a carryover from the Abrahamic faith, because you have to follow God, or you have to follow Christ, or whatever. And or what was the guy down in Mormonville, whatever his name?
John Smith.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
he didn't say follow me. He said, here's the book that I hallucinated in the cave one day.
All right, so yeah, that one. And those, the assumption is that that's the foundation, or that's the structure of every belief or every path to spirituality. And it's not. And straight up, it's just not. You can follow multiple deities. You can follow 0 deities. You can follow 1 deity, or any combination thereof, and just whatever feels appropriate at that time, because your path will change, and it'll adjust to what you need at that time. So sometimes you're going to have a deity in your life for a period of time, and they'll be like, all right, good. You learned everything you could from me, or you didn't, and I'm done with you anyways, so good luck. Peace out.
We've talked about that before as well. Say you follow a specific, deity, or whatever that is. For you, it's Kadunos and Hecate. I don't necessarily follow Odin, but I think Odin has the what he's got the base of what I'm looking for. However, he's kind of busy. He's kind of a busy guy. He's got all these other things to do, and so it's not like Odin moves in my life all the time. And so it's like sometimes things will happen. You go, nope, I don't know who that is, but pour loud out for the homies and say thanks. I appreciate you. And that's just the quick, simple way to say thank you. And I think that's important because we've talked about not being able to identify who specific deity that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't really matter. It's acknowledging that that somebody's moving in your life. And we talked about Christians and the Abrahamic faiths, but honestly, when it comes down to it, in my view of the pantheons and things like that, God is just another God in those pantheons, in the greater pantheon. And that would also make, I guess, Satan or the devil, however you look at it, a god as well in a lot of ways, because they have all their followers among them. You've got God and the saints and the angels and the cherubs and all the different choirs and all that kind of thing. But they're all and the Bible has always told me that there's more than one God, because He said it in a few different ways. He says, I'm a jealous God. Well, if you're going to be jealous, you kind of got to be able to have a measuring stick. I'm a
Yeah, what are you
vengeful
jealous
God.
of?
If you're a vengeful God, how can you be a loving God? So, all these things, you've got to be able to compare yourself to your peers. So, I think that's just another pantheon within the greater scope of things. So, but I don't think you have to, follow one. You don't have to choose one.
One isn't going to choose you necessarily.
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
may, I'm going to follow so-and-so, but so-and-so's like, okay, so I don't care. Because they can be fickle.
Mm-hmm.
They can be play favorites.
Mm-hmm.
You may be a favorite of, Thor one day and Loki the next, but you may never ever know it, so you just honor the movement.
Mm-hmm.
You honor the attention that you were given, not necessarily someone or something, but you honor the intention and the movement that you feel. So
yeah. Squirrel moment. You were talking about your path, and we just kind of took over.
we did. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was. So, yeah,
Yeah, the corvids and nature and
so much. This is my listening, thinking face.
Okay.
Face, not phase. Ooh.
It's all good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you've too many hours. You're getting punchy.
Right. So I think to sum up each of our honest path is it's those divine messages that you get,
Mm-hmm.
and honoring yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's actually important too. It's you right up there with self-care. You have to honor yourself, because if you hate yourself, that's the lens is going to color most of your experiences, with anything else. If you can't accept yourself for you, which is hard for us these days, because if you look at the anything on TV, even before this year, um, there's all these you're aging too fast, or you're too heavy, or you're too skinny, or you're too this, or you need this drug or that drug, or this political group or that, or you've got this whatever. Very few commercials or media outlets of any kind say accept yourself for who you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And accept everybody else for who they are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we've got about 9 minutes left on the show, and something I've been asking pretty much everybody I've had on as a guest is, with 2020 in the rollover into this year, and just talking about it as a whole, not in light of recent events. Did you feel that, or do you feel that there was an energy shift, that it's truly, 'cause like I feel it's the end of an age, and people forget that when an age ends, rarely is it a smooth ending. But
Spiritual ascension.
so yeah, any of that. So yeah, exactly. So do you feel that we are going through the end of an age, or experiencing that energy shift?
I do. I really do. And whether that looks like all of these things coming to a head in our 3D world, with current events, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
not just one in particular, but all of them that are happening, and those that are experiencing that shift through those 3D events, or those who have tuned in, such as you wouldn't be watching this if you hadn't or listening
Mm-hmm.
if you hadn't already tuned in. And so what it feels like for those of us that have, yes, we still see current events, but we also see things more openly and receive different information on our own, and it's crazy
Mm-hmm.
and scary and beautiful and amazing all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's often been times where we can say that there's been a little bit of a shift here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is like a whole different timeline that we've now been aligned with, it feels like.
Yeah, it's not a little shift.
No.
And I think there's be a spiritual awakening. I think the old ways are coming again. The number of people expressing just an interest in paganism or the esoteric at all is in numbers that we haven't seen.
In modern times.
Yeah, in modern times. Yeah, it's just like, how do I
Ever.
put this in a number form? Yeah, in modern times, because really it's not. I mean, this is it's cool, it's new, it's fun. It's not like the free love in the '60s, but sure, there's a whole bunch of eye opening at that point. But this is really.
This is more than eye-opening, though. I think it's the
transformative.
It's the energetic transformation of, and some people say, well, we're shifting from 3D to 5D. We're ascending, or the third eyes are opening, and the different verbiages that bring on those thoughts and those images in our head. We Brent and I had this incredible experience. It just totally sucked, but incredible experience in January of 2018 with the super blue blood moon, and it was just incredible the amount of energy that just kind of came through in our cosm, and how the portal went from there. And then, with Paisley and her show and what's going through there, and the people we're connecting with and reconnecting with, it's defining. I think it's defining who we're going to be when we get through the shift, and who we're going to be with, or connected to.
Mm-hmm.
And so all this energy just swirling around, the good, the bad, the absolute ugly. And hopefully we can hope that it happens and transpires quickly, and we can get back on to some new normality. But I agree. I think we've been feeling the shift for five years or slightly more.
Mm-hmm.
This real shift. So
Yeah, I think it started off a bit more subtle, and we're kind of starting to pick up speed a bit.
There's been days where you're walking or standing somewhere and it feels like the earth has physically moved,
Mm-hmm.
and you try and take a step and that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
or you do and you stumble a little bit and it's like, oh, what happened? And keep note of that, and
Mhm.
see if it feels like you're maybe stepping, maybe not physically, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, we were at the local esoteric shop a while back, and we were looking at the singing bowls, and the gal showed us, and she struck it and was and the sound just it took over the entire space, and it felt like reality shifted. I mean, it wasn't a little bitty nudge. It was like, oh, hang on to your bootstraps because we're going for a ride. It was
a big freaking bowl.
yeah, and it altered reality briefly. It was insane, and it's on my rather short wish list. That one, or one very, very similar to it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it too. If you stumble or you have a brain fart, what are you doing? What were you doing? What was the significance of it?
Mhm.
Is it an energy shift? Is it a realization I'm supposed to be having? I think all of those things are very valid
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
ideas
Yep.
for that.
And journaling. Cannot say
Yes.
journaling is enough. Any of these new experiences that you're having, write them down, because you're going to look back in a year or two or 5 and like, that was my aha moment, and it was so quiet I didn't even see it. Because a lot of them are going to be small. They're not all going to be in capital letters with neon lights and fireworks.
Calligraphy and these pretty butterflies.
Yeah, they're not going to come riding in on a unicorn. It'll be, subtle like the wings of a butterfly. So
I can tell you when my shift really started happening, and that was when I was 25 and started learning to trip. It really was the eye-opening. It really changed me from who I was to who I was going to begin becoming.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was when I started to trip, and I let go of all that negativity from my young lives.
Yeah.
I was 25, 26, I think.
I think I've always been here. It just took me a little bit to realize.
Absolutely. And exactly. And it's not when we're... What term did you use?
The
This one.
realization.
Yep. So it's not necessarily a realization, but it's a remembering.
Mm-hmm. Very much a remembering, because there's some things that are very intuitive that I do, and it's like I'm remembering how to do them, and I should probably write them down so I don't forget them again, because the brain is real.
That goes back to a conversation we had with Judge and Cinda
Sindel?
from Blooming Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yep. So yeah, journal. Write down your dreams. Write down your epiphanies. Write down your thoughts, and it may not seem like a big deal right at the moment, but down the road it will. And if your friends or loved ones say, "Hey, I experienced this thing, and it was kind of weird," include that in your notes as you're writing them down too, because
It could be a message to you.
exactly. And I mentioned in chat, not everybody wants to accept the messages that are coming through or the energy coming through, and so if you write them down, then at least you have them.
Give them a
And
chance to contact information and
yeah,
stuff.
contact information in a minute or
How to
less.
stick with you.
Oh,
I'll put it in the notes too.
great. So online on the web, you're going to go to samsapothecary.com. For now, that link will always work. It will forward you to the new site, trulymystical.com. No, that's wrong. I went fancy. Trulymystical.live.
Oh.
Like live your life.
Right.
Mhm.
Living is mystical. Trulymystical.live. Facebook, Sam's Apothecary. Facebook, Sam Michael Intuitive Inspiration. And the YouTube channel, I remembered that I told you wrong. It's Sam Michael Finding Your Magic.
There you go.
There you go.
Awesome.
Finding your magic. I like it. All right, everybody. So that's a wrap for us for this weekend. So merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. And we will see you next Friday right here on the spaces between.
Lord within the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever does.